Going live now. We're having a technical difficulties. We have a technical difficulties, so we're just gonna try one more time. It's not playing the intro, so we're just gonna start our live now. It's normally very smooth, but we are having a technical difficulties. So I just need to refresh the page. Bear me 1 minute. We're just having a technical difficulties. So just spare me 1 minute. And I cannot see myself. Here we go. There's the problem of going live and having technical difficulties. But anyway, we are just having some technical issues with Restream. So I do apologize for that. You can see my screen is not working and the button is not working. So I will add our guest to the events now before I introduce the program, because I can see a black frame there. And I can also see there is a additional thing here. So let me sort that out. It's a little bit weird the way it's behaved, but we cannot do. Okay, so sorry for the mismatch of the technology. It was a little bit weird that Restream behaved like this. But it is as usual. I did not have any other problems before, but I will let Restream know about this because, but anyway, forget about this. So thank you everyone for joining today's live webinar. Today we have Harun Rabbani and a special guest for our events today. And we're going to be talking about empowerment. And Harun, thank you very much for joining today's live webinar. And we appreciate your support and contribution. So my first asking would be, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay, so thank you so much, Shah, for having me on board. I really appreciate it. It's interesting because I've been an entrepreneur, I would say, most of my life. And the reason, in my mind, I've been an entrepreneur is actually something that I only discovered earlier this year. So At the time of recording, we are now in October 2024. It's only probably about March, April, I discovered that I was showing up all the symptoms of ADHD. And that, when I discovered that, I realized that it explained so much about my entrepreneurial journey. So, to give a quick rundown of what I've done, I grew up in a family business, being Bangladeshi of Sylheti origin, because you're Bangladeshi of Dhaka origin. We family obviously went into the restaurant trade. And as a 12-year-old kid working full time for my dad in the evenings, that's what I did for the first couple of years, up to the age of 14. I worked after our business closed down because you can only do so much with a family at some in that kind of business. I ended up working part-time in that industry. I went on to do economics, and having had a massive interest in share dealing, stockbroking, with the hope that I will become a stockbroker. But actually, I ended up inadvertently working in the medical devices industry, in essence, selling medical equipment to top-level clinicians in endoscopy, later on ENT, ear, nose, and throat. And then by 2002, I was going through a major family crisis, in other words, divorce. And at the time, my kids were only not even 3 and 1. And so I thought, okay, how do I get to spend more time with my children, because I'm not going to be able to see them every day? And so I became a trainer. I created my own business, training people, entrepreneurs in particular, how to grow their business, how to get sales without being salesy. After a while, I have to admit, and this is the important element that I think will resonate with a lot of people who have got ADHD or any other neurodiversity labels you want to give yourself. But one of the things is it basically devastated my mental health. And so for about 15 years, doing all the work that I did, moving away from training sales because I got bored of it, I started exploring the synergy between science and spirituality, science and consciousness, and ran retreats and all that kind of good stuff. But inside, truth is, I was dying inside. All the creativity was all well and good, but and nobody could really explain what was going on for me. And so currently, one of my big issues has been the state of the world that we have here, which is, if you look at the state of leadership, I think it's pants across the board, politically and some of the highest level. I really think is rubbish, because if it wasn't so rubbish, we wouldn't have as much of the conflicts we have, both within the UK. And I'm not talking necessarily physical conflicts. I'm talking about conflicts with poverty, with social deprivation. I look at all of that and I think it's absolute useless leadership. So I thought, how do we train better leaders? Well, two types of leaders I work with. One is the very established CEO executives. I work with them, business owners who want to make a big impact. And I only work with a handful of those. But the other one, which really stoked up my passion, was helping young people to learn 3 things about leadership. Number 1, taking responsibility for their actions, being responsible for everything that they do. Number 2, being accountable, including the consequences of their actions to themselves and to others. And third, which is actually should be the first one, which is critical thinking. They don't teach critical thinking in schools. I've spoken to probably closer to over 250,000 teenagers over the last 20 years in schools, motivational talks about confidence and memory and improve goal setting and so on. And critical thinking is not taught in schools. Are we then surprised why we have the society we have in the UK? And so that's a little about me. Oh, you're muted. I don't know if you're muted, but I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. Thank you very much, Harun. It was a great pleasure to talk to you today. And we know that I have a flies today in my studio. And there's another odd thing is happening. The fly is moving around everywhere. So please excuse me for that. I cannot go to kill it now. But anyway, I do apologize for the mismatch of the technology today. So to all the audience, you are watching this live, thank you very much for joining these lives. And if you wanted to ask us any question, feel free to access through the comment box. And Terry already have messaged me that look forward to listening to Dr. Shah and Harun Rabbani's webinar today. Terry, thank you. You are a great supporter, and and we together work together. So Terry is one of my clients, and I do mentor support mentoring for Terry specifically in technology and other things. So, and we also jointly develop a lot of programs together. So thank you everyone for joining today's live. We have Harun Rabbani today with me. We're going to be talking on entrepreneurs, how you can develop your skills. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to share my screen because I just wanted to have a tour of the Neurodivergent Business Consortium and how it is linked. We're going to be saying how it is linked to today's events. So you probably see my screen now. So Neurodivergent Business Consortium is a CIC, community interest company, registered in the England and Wales. And this is our website, nbconsortium.com. So we have waited for last a few years to develop this portal for anyone they wanted to thrive in workplace. So this is totally dedicated to neurodivergent, disabled people, and the people they have special needs and less able. So specifically, it is designed to capture the essence of the community work, development, and so on. And it is divided in many sections. So the first section is a homepage. You can see all the things that we can do and we have done so far, including with the About Search section. You can see our values and mission and vision and so on, what we do. Specifically, the portal is designed and developed in 2-3 sections. We have an event section. So on the event section, we can add events from anywhere in the world. So currently, we have added NBC events, and the club, business club events, and all other resources events. So if you wanted to advertise your events here, you can advertise. You just need to register as a user, and we can give you specific rights for you to add your events on the listing page. So you can see that it will list your events, and as well as the registration page where they need to go and so on. The next thing is resources page. So we have Andy resources. So this is for neurodivergent people. They wanted to grow. They wanted to know specific elements. So it's a portal and a knowledge page for anyone to understand all about neurodiversity. We're going to be adding more resources here. And the next thing is Andy corporate resources. So in corporate resources, we will have corporations, corporate, and a lot of other companies. So if you wanted to support us, you can have an advertisement that you are neurodivergent positive employer, or you are neurodivergent and you wanted to have a placeholder or advertisement or shop window on this application. And then we have a news sections. On the news section, we have newses from across the globe. So we are updating it for any typical or any type of news that can be added here. And if you register with this software, you will be able to add your news subject to the admin acceptance of the news. And then we also have packages because we need to run our program and as well as run our organization. So we have some of the packages that you can specifically subscribe to these packages and support us, as well as we support you with specific elements. And the last thing I wanted to attract all of your attention is we have a donation sets, because we need to attract donations from the community as well as corporates donations. So if you are looking to support us and support our causes, this is a great tool and this is a great way that we support. So we are thinking to start our mentoring. And if you wanted to support our great courses, you can specifically support us. It's fully automated. You can select the causes, or as well as you can select any amount that we wanted to donate, and is fully automated. You can donate us for our specific causes, or supporting our good causes. And all the causes are here. So we need your support. Specifically, if you are watching this program, please support us and spread the word, because with your support we can get to the next levels. Because without getting support from the community, it's really very tough for us to work on the supporting individuals or empower more people. Because in the neurodivergent community, most of there is a huge percentage of neurodivergent. They are jobless. So I will Harun, I just a little bit tour about the NBC. You know that why we need more empowerment, because what I have experienced so far in the community, that I think a huge percentage of the neurodivergent people, they are either jobless or seeking benefits, and they don't have the right resources for empowerment. Even some of us that we get to the empowerment, we don't have right resources. So my first discussion would be discussing on the entrepreneurial mindset, vision, and resilience. How can we tailor that? So how do successful entrepreneurs develop resilient mindsets?
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm not going to be prescribing to people what they need to do and not need to do. However, from someone I specifically, and I might be many things on the spectrum, but I do know for sure that it's the ADHD in me that really has either let me down or has helped me, and it's done both. And so the big thing about mindset, about whether you're neurodivergent or not, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to understand it's not the same as necessarily owning a business. What do I mean by that? So let's say you're an accountant. What does an accountant do? Put their accounts together, save their clients money from having to overpay HMRC, but also making sure that they fulfill their legal obligations. I mean, obviously, that's a very simple concept, the way I put it. However, in essence, that's what they're doing. They are looking after the cash. That's what they're doing. A true entrepreneur is someone who sees a problem. That problem is something not just for one person, but enough people for you to say, okay, here's a problem. I think I've got a solution. If this is the problem, this is the way they want to. If they're on this side of the, let's call it, give you an analogy actually. If you imagine a river flowing and the problem is on one side, let's say on your side of the river or your client side of the river, the land is barren. There's nothing growing. It's all rocks and sand. On the other side, it's full of lush greenness. It's fruit trees and flowers and all the things you could do to have an amazing life. Let's pretend that for a moment. So here is the opportunity. Barren land, where they want to get to. Your job as an entrepreneur is to say, find a bridge or build a bridge between one place and the other. But you need to be able to do it either for lots of people, so mass production or products or service, or you build a very expensive bridge because the problem is so big, only a few people will buy your solution, cross that bridge to get to the other side. So an entrepreneur is somebody who sees opportunities for them to make a difference. That's the first thing. You've got to be a problem solver. Without a problem solving mindset of creating these opportunities, creating the demand, then you're not an entrepreneur. You're employed maybe by yourself, but you're not an entrepreneur. I've done both. And there is this mindset you cannot have as an entrepreneur that you're an employee. For example, if you start up a new business, you have to straight away understand there is no work-life balance. A lot of people want to start and make their millions and work 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day. Good luck with that. I work with a lot of professionals who are highly experienced, who are professional speakers. They're very good speakers. But just because you can speak doesn't mean you've got a good business, because you got to look at all the different elements. So the entrepreneurial mindset is also about understanding that you cannot do it alone. You need to learn to cooperate, collaborate, maybe do joint projects, maybe do joint ventures that will help you to truly understand. But the very big thing, you mentioned the magic word, resilience. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to develop resilience. Preferably, you already have the resilience. What do I mean by that? So I spent a very large portion of my life selling medical equipment and then in some form of sales or other. Now, you imagine you are selling high-level medical equipment and you go into an operating theater with a surgeon and he gets upset and angry and is shouting and screaming because a piece of kit you took in isn't working. And everybody else is cowering in the corner. And I remember this happening in real life. A nurse said to me, Harun, I think you need to go. He's so angry. And I said, no, I'm not being bullied out. I'm staying behind. And you need that ability to not take things personally. But the danger is that as ADHD, people with ADHD, we are also very empathic and we also hate rejection. We can't handle rejection very well. So if you want to truly succeed as an entrepreneur, just recognize that all the stuff people are doing, emotive wise, especially if they're high level, this guy's a genius, this doctor I was working at, it's their own projection. So here's what happened. The doctor finished the surgery, and what happened was they were using the equipment that I took in, and it caused a lot of bleeding. Excessive bleeding, so he had to do some extra intervention. He finished the operation. Then he came up to me and says, Harun, I wasn't upset with you. I've been shouting and screaming at our business managers to buy a generator called a diathermy kit. Basically, it was one of our equipment, but not mine. So said, we need this 20 years old. We wanted replacement. That client, that customer took that. I spent the time to listen to him, didn't take anything personally, and he placed a massive order with us. Now, it may have been the case that I would have been thrown out of the department, but as an entrepreneur, you got to shrug it off. You're going to say, whatever's going on for them is going on for them now. You have to go to the next customer, next client, not looking miserable, not looking dejected, but enthusiastic and energetic. So there's a lot of amount of resilience required. It's nothing will get this serious like I got, but there will be people who turn you down, and you can't take it personally. When someone says no to you, it might be, no, I don't have enough information from you. I don't see the value to buy it right now. Maybe later, but not right now. They won't tell you that. They'll just say no. So you need a level of emotional intelligence to be an entrepreneur. And I have so much honor and respect for those who are leading from the front. I might not agree with many of them. Elon Musk, I don't agree with so many things he says. But you know what? I've got to take my hat off to him for achieving what he's done. I don't agree with many things, but it takes a certain level of resilience. And I don't know if he's autistic and he's got, what else has he got? Asperger's as well, I believe. So take comfort that if you are neurodivergent, 30-40% of, for example, entrepreneurs, the most successful entrepreneurs, have got dyslexia. 1/3 have got ADHD. Some of the greatest geniuses ever have got autism. So actually, if you start developing self-awareness, developing resilience, and we have this natural skill of seeing opportunities, developing the ability to look at an opportunity, don't go running after everyone, pick one, stick with it, try it out, test it out, and then once you think this is something I can work, don't try to do it alone. Build a team, collaborate, and maybe employ later, but start off with a team. And does that get the juices going, Shah?
Yes, Arun. Thank you for your explanation, the great explanation, I would say. As myself, I'm a neurodivergent person. I did not know I was dyslexic before my brain tumor surgery. So when I had my brain tumor surgery in 2009, I realized that I lost my vocabularies, sentence making capacities, and a lot of other things. And I cannot pronounce certain words. So when I was pronouncing to the resilience, I could not do it at the first go because my brain doesn't allow me to pronounce such words. And I was laughter with people like, okay, he's just starting. He cannot pronounce a word and he's thinking of achieving great success. And my intake was with them that I have some disabilities, I know, but my disabilities is not my working capacity, it's not my brain. You have to separate them together. I share a story most of the time that I went to PIP, personal independence and payments, after my brain tumor surgery, and I had a fall in 2015. I broke all my fractured ribs and everything, so I became partially disabled. They told me, what you wanted to achieve. I told them, yes, in 10 years, I wanted to be here that I am now. Okay. And they said, we don't think you need PIP because you can work. And that's gave me a great push that, okay, disability and my brain is two different things. I might need some aid to tailor my activities and a lot of other things. But if you picture them on a stereotype, like, okay, you are very much intelligent, but you cannot do things, and that makes you worst. No, that's not the case. So the things you said, I can say people, they still stereotype, like, oh, when they see neurodivergent, that means you cannot do anything. Now, the situation has changed rapidly that when they see neurodivergent, that means you are very super clever or superhuman. But I do not say I am a superhuman. I say our mutation is different than normal people. So we are muted in a way that we can see differently. And every individuals of neurodivergent, they are unique. You cannot copy each other. You can have some common characteristics and most of them uncommon characteristics. So I can see 360 degrees. So when I have a problem to solve, or when I am into something, I can see the 360 degree and I can pick up individual string from there and make them a path. Some people, they cannot do it. That doesn't make them ununique because they are unique with something else. So resilience is the core thing that we say at the moment, because it doesn't matter you are neurotypical, you're neurodivergent, you have to be resilient, because without that, you cannot do it. And another thing I have seen working with many businesses and individuals, they do not stick to one plan. Okay. What they do, they will do something here, something there, and they will not see the end. And that's the problem here. So if you started something, you have to finish that. Doesn't matter you have a good experiences or bad experiences. If you finish that, that will be added to your experience list that you did something. But if you escape from there, you cannot say that you have done something. So that's why you need resilience, isn't it? So I just going to jump into our next conversation. So we have some questions from the audience. I will get it answered a little bit later. My next question to you would be, what are the key elements of creating a vision that aligns with your personal values and market demands? I think that's very important, because if you do not understand that, you cannot make your resilience, you cannot have a business, can you? Or you cannot become an entrepreneur.
100%. It's probably one of the best questions I've ever had, actually, this. So thank you, Eva. It's absolutely brilliant. So everything is about relationships. Everything. What do I mean by that? You have a relationship with your body. So it's called your health. You got your relationship with your mind, your mental health. You got your relationship, if you're believing God, your God or spirits or universe. So everything's about a relationship. We have a relationship with people. Now, what defines people is not their name. So Harun is a name given to me by my granddad, who's passed a long time ago. I love it. I honor it. And it's named after a prophet. It's named after a caliph. Great. But that doesn't define who I am. What defines who I am is where I prioritize my life on a day-to-day basis. So Knowing your personal core driving values, and we all have different combinations, different iterations. Knowing your core driving values is point one. Is no, if you without knowing that, you can't say, "Oh, I'm following my values." Most people actually don't know their values. They might think they do. They'll read it somewhere, go, "Yeah, yeah, that's my values." Nope. I can promise you, I've worked with so many hundreds of people, and when they discover what their values are, they go, "Oh, oh, wow, that makes sense." So, as an example, I'll use my example. So, 5 core driving values. Number 1 is wanting to make a significant difference. Number 2 is wanting to create freedom. Number 3 is operating from the space of authenticity, integrity. I do what I say what I do when I'm going to do it, and when I said I'm going to do it. Number 4, compassion. And number 5, in a grounded, centered way. Now, they're my values. Doesn't have to be anything to anyone else. Here is where we have problems. So when I've worked with previously in my health arena, so had a lot of people with relationship issues. Let's say I'm in a relationship with someone and my number 1 value is making a significant difference. Now, me, I'm a professional speaker. I go on stage. A lot of people notice me. A lot of people shake my hands. I'm making a significant difference as well. If I had a partner, a wife who came up to me, or a business partner said to me, "Harun, you're so big-headed. You always want to be center of attraction. You have to make sure everyone's aware." Well, so can you do it behind the scenes? So can you maybe work in a room with a computer and stay behind there and not talk to humans? That not only emasculates me, that also is denigrating, dishonoring my number 1 core driving value. If I was to enter a job and we were to reduce these 5 values to something in the distance, number 1, you wouldn't last in the job. Number 2, if you did stay in that job, you will literally fall ill because you are not living according to values. So when you create a vision for your business, for your company, you got to ask yourself, how does this support my values? Because here's the thing. If let's pretend for a moment, Shai, I don't know if it is, but let's pretend for a moment your big value is innovating for companies so that they can create the most profitable, successful, happy, fulfilling business. Let's say you are doing that. Okay. How excited would you be to be, I don't know, a data processor, and that's all you do? You'd hate it. I mean, obviously, it's not something you would do, but you'd hate it. You would not survive. So you got to ask yourself, this business, this vision I have, whatever the vision is, does this tick value number 1? Does it tick value number 2? Now, an important part of my values, by the way, is a given, like my family value. All of this is incorporated into my family values. Am I making a significant difference to the lives of my parents, to my siblings, my children, to my friends? So all of these can be used in business as well as personal life. So you've got to, if you spent most of your day, every day, 80% of your time, maximum, probably you never get to spend 100% of the time doing this, 80% of the time doing stuff that fulfills you, lives up to your values, makes you happy, how amazing would you be as a employer, as an entrepreneur? You'll be hop, skipping and jumping out of bed to get to work. You don't need an alarm clock. You will wake up ahead of time. You're like, "Oh my God, I get an opportunity to do this again." Because guess what? You are in love with your business. Where people struggle is they create a business and it doesn't take their values. A, because they don't know what their values is. Well, let's pretend they know their values. B, because they're doing a business which just doesn't resonate. So creating a bank, let's say, the banking sector is a mess and there's opportunities there. I couldn't do it. It will bore the pants off me. So the value piece is absolutely important for creating your vision, number 1. Number 2, the value piece is very important because if I'm, say, working with you, let's say you and I are collaborating, if you know my core driver values, you know that, let's say yours is innovation, you're going to ask yourself, okay, how does innovation connect with Harun's desire to make a difference? How does innovation connect with Harun's desire to be authentic? How does innovation connect with Harun's desire to be centered and grounded? So if the person, and let's pretend there's a romantic relationship between me and my wife, she's ticking all my boxes, I'm ticking all hers. In other words, we are creating the environment for the other person to be happy. How amazing would that relationship be in your business? And so, knowing your values, knowing who you are and who you're not, that's important. Knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, gives you direction towards your vision. It's very important. You might have a vision. Everyone's got 1,001 ideas, especially ADHD people. We've got a million ideas a day. But without knowing your values, how are you going to get there? So your values acts as your guideposts to realizing the vision.
That was mind blowing, Harun. And you are right, because when we talk to the individuals, they might shadow some values, but that's not their values. Maybe specifically in Asian parents, their value is going to be their children values, so they derived their values to their children. But is that value is their children values? No, not, because maybe sometimes it will match, but most of the time, as we are individuals, because in this world I think there are 9 billion people, and everyone is different. You cannot see like a thumb is similar to other people. No. So everyone is different. So if people are different, their value is going to be different. Yes, there will be some common and uncommon things in between that, and we fail to understand that. So when we talk to some neurodivergent people or neurotypical people, asking them, okay, what you wanted to achieve, and they cannot say straightforward that this is my path and I wanted to get, and I wanted to see, this is my end results. They will say, okay, I wanted to achieve this, that. And at that point, I ask them, do you know that this is achievable, and how long you need to wait to achieve that? They cannot measure it. So they will go something like, okay, I wanted to reach there, but I don't have any tools, I don't have any things. And most of them will say, I will learn and reach there. There's a good thing when you learn and reach there, but the time you need to spend, it's horrendous. So you cannot do, maybe it will take you 10 years to reach there. But as an entrepreneur and training people, mentoring people, I realized myself, I had mentors. That's why I'm in these positions. So if you're thinking that, okay, you have a dream, you have a path, and you wanted to reach somewhere, you need to add professional people. They can guide you through. Otherwise, if you wanted to run that path, it's not going to be easy. So my next question to you would be, how do we change our attitude towards adding professional people to the professional jobs they're looking for to grow someone's dream to the next levels?
Oh, beautiful. You asked, you definitely deserve to be a podcaster. You asked some great questions. And a lot of times I go into podcasts and actually the questions are boring. This is great. So someone wants to realize their dreams and they're professional. Here's the thing. And I have to say, I did struggle with this. I've struggled with this for the longest time on this context. As someone with ADHD, I struggle to delegate. I have this tendency to look at something, geek out on it, practice it to the nth degree, and become genius level at it. So I want to give you a really off the curve, out of the box experience so you can relate to this. So I live in the countryside in Northamptonshire, and I have a fascination with growing my own food because I like organic food, homegrown. There's a big difference between growing your own food and so on. And I thought, okay, how do I create compost that will be really nourishing for my vegetables? 2-3 doors away, our neighbors there owns, I think, 4 or 5 horses. And so I thought, okay, how do I use that manure compost? So I spent the better part of my waking hour outside of work reviewing all the videos, YouTube videos, and reading all the articles of how to create the best quality compost. And then it got to a point where I've now learned how to create compost in the space of several days. I won't go give you my secrets in this podcast. And I kid you not, my garlic, which is normally the size, I don't this big for those of you who aren't watching, it's a normal size garlic. Basically, they ended up being twice the size last year because we geek out. Now, why is this a problem in the world of business? If you want to be self-employed and you want to work for yourself, that's fine. You're employed. You got a terrible boss, you. If you want to create a lifestyle business, meaning you create enough income so you can live your lifestyle, then you need a small team. But if you want to create a fantastically big business, a performance level business, you need to think about bringing a much bigger team. So here's the thing. You cannot be a genius at everything. And even if you were a polymath, a polyglot, or anything, you only have 24 hours in the day, of which you should be sleeping 8 of those hours. And then out of the remaining 16 hours, you're going to be eating, sleep, you're going to be going to the toilet, you're going to be commuting and so on. Let's call it 10 hours. You're an entrepreneur, you do more than 8. Let's call it 10 hours. What would you rather do? 10 hours of being a master at one thing, or 10 hours of doing 5 different things? So in a business, you need small business, you need at least 5 core elements. The marketing, very, very important in itself. It's a small company, you need a chief marketing officer. You need sales, which is very different to marketing, although it's considered as the same. It's not, very different. You need talent, meaning HR. Then you've got legal and administration. And the fifth one, very, very important one, which we're talking about, which is well, we're not talking about this, but operations. So most people go into the business focusing on one area. I'll do this and they will come. Doesn't work like that. You build it, they don't come. The field of dreams was lying to you. So you need people in place. And everybody has, like you very eloquently put, uniqueness about them. And I would rather find somebody hugely more smarter than me looking after different people. For example, in my company, Young Leaders Nexus, currently I'm looking for a careers consultant. I won't say what for, but in someone who knows way more. I don't want to geek out on that. It's an area of interest, but it's not, doesn't have to be me. It's far more effective if my careers consultant goes and does their consultancy job, speaks to the school, speaks to the teenagers, and I focus on doing the big deals. I'm a negotiator. I know how to build things. So I focus on that. When it comes to marketing, I've got my eye on 1 or 2 people who can do that. When it comes to the finance, I've already got my eye on which company I want to bring in. Now, in order to start from scratch, what you need to be thinking, it takes a long time to build a team because you've got to interview a lot of people. So before you think about interviewing and bringing anyone on board, number one, be self-aware. Where are my strengths? So do all the personality profiling tests. Where am I the genius in? For me, creativity, innovation. Somebody else, it might be systems and processes. I have a lot of respect for that, but I'd rather have somebody who's someone like yourself, who is total genius in that. So what am I strong in? Where are my weak spots? Where are my blind spots? I'm very good at looking after people, but it's not my natural space. I'm good at it, but it doesn't mean I'm best at it. I'm best at what I do. So what am I brilliant at? What are the weak areas? And make sure those weak areas are compensated for by the right team. How do you find the right team? Well, number one, if you're in business, you need to be on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, there's something wrong with you. Because LinkedIn, every single person who has got a skill set and who wants to share the skill set is on there. So why are you looking at it? Life is so much more easier, Shah. 30 years, what, not even that, 20 years ago, you'd have to go to a lot of meetings and events to eventually come across one person that may or may not like you. Now you're spoiled for choice. So network, become a trusted advisor, help others to network, find amongst them the best of the best to come and work with you. And here's the good news, Shah, that when somebody is a genius at something, it's so easy for them, so effortless, it feels like play. So when you want that advice from somebody in a specific area, let's say someone wants to speak about sales, it's so easy. It's like, running through my veins, that those people a lot of the time say, yeah, I'm not going to charge for that. But when you want to get serious, you got to pay them well. So the most highly gifted people actually aren't overcharging for stuff. I know I've taken a lot of time, and I'm also very aware there's some very good questions. I don't know if you wanted to, shall we address those? I mean, does that answer give
Yeah,
you
yeah, please,
some kind of
because
idea?
we have some questions from the audience.
Yeah,
We're going to answer them because, as I told you, one event is not enough to answer a lot of different things. Because
yeah,
when you talk about entrepreneurships, it's a huge fails, and people really stuck into it, that what they do not understand what they need to do. So if we can very specific for our conversation, and maybe at another events down the line to talk
yes,
about more, or maybe series or events, because I understand the work you do, that is mind blowing. And I think adding programs online, it will also support thousands, or maybe more peoples, they are watching these events right now. So yes, please, you can elaborate the questions. We just have another 15 minutes. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the viewers for joining today's live. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui from New Division Business Consortium, and we have Harun Rabbani. And Harun, please continue your conversation.
So what I'd like to say is, I mean, yes, 100%, by the way, thank you so much. I think we do need to do a series of these, because we can take any one of these elements. So even the values element, we can go uber deep with that, so that people know who they are, what they stand for. So one of the questions I've noticed coming in, and this is a very important question: how do you define success as an entrepreneur? What key metrics do you use to measure progress? Great question. Here's the thing about success, okay? First of all, as an entrepreneur, there are various measurement tools. But here's the mistake that everybody makes. They set up a business, and in their mind, they work very hard on everything else but to bring the customers in. So, what in Britain anyway, you know what they hate more than anything else? Sales. But sales, which is the transaction of money coming in for your products or services, is the thing that they hate most. And yet, without the sales, you got a very expensive hobby. Without the sales, you got a very fast declining, it's not even a business yet. So key metrics for me in a business is this: is this generating profitable revenue? When I say revenue, after you paid your costs, you've got profits, profitable revenue. Is it generating enough profits, and is it generating enough sales? Is it sustainable? Just focusing on the sales bit, is this something that could be replicated month in, month out? Or is it like, okay, during Christmas week, leading up to Christmas, you're busy and that's it? In the restaurant business, we used to be busy for 2 weeks, very, very busy last 2 weeks of leading up to Christmas. But then what about the rest of the year? Occasional on Friday and Saturday night. So this is why the restaurant business is one of the worst businesses anyone can get into, at least nowadays. So sales revenue, it's a very important one, because there is you have created a business for some amount of profit. The other big thing for me is, am I making a difference? But before you go into, am I making a difference to the people I'm serving, which is you want to, you also got to think, am I making a difference to my team? I worked in sales, for medical sales, for nearly 10 years. In my last company, I was the number one salesman by a long shot. It's a big company. And you know what I was good at? Meeting doctors, having a very short conversation, and generating business from them, because I was very good at building relationships, which were absolutely astronomical, breaking company records. You know what I'm weak at? Like a lot of ADHD people, I'm very weak at admin. Absolutely hate it. It drives me nuts. It needs to be done, but I don't like it. So you know what the company was kept on telling me, Harun, you need to do more forecasting. If you need to forecast what we're going to generate in the next 2-3 months. At 3,000 products from £5 to £5,000 range, big product range. They wanted me by product category to dictate out of 120 hospitals which ones would order which and which from which department. I'm not an analyst. You hired me to do sales. Let me do the sales. The other colleagues, they're focused on listening to the bosses. This is why they only achieved 85% of the targets, and I was achieving 150, 160% of monthly target. So if I have a team, I want to find where they're a genius at. I want to. This is not school. This is not GCSE where you say, "Oh, focus on the weak stuff." The strengths will look after. No, no. I want to know what is the one thing that you will take my company astronomically high in, whatever the area is. Doesn't have to be sales. Could be admin. Could be legal. Doesn't matter. Could be social media strategy. Whatever it is. What is the one thing? So, am I making a difference to my team? Because without my team, I'm building a big business. I have no business. So, next metric is obviously customers. How many customers you have? How often are they ordering? Am I looking after my team? Now, it's not about the money. To me, the metrics, although it's a measurement tool, that's all it is. I want to know in my business, Young Leaders Nexus, am I helping create a new entire generation of leaders? And it might be one person. How many Martin Luther Kings do we need to create for the UK, for example? Or it might be 100,000 young people. That'd be amazing, won't it? So the metrics is about, am I making a difference and is it paying my bills as a result? That's the key basic metrics. And then as you grow your business, there's many other metrics to measure as well. But that really is something for another day. There's another couple of questions. Do you want to post them or should I just read them out?
So we have many questions here. I just attract me some of the questions. So the next question I just wanted to ask you about Zaki Khan. Thank you very much for everyone sending these questions. We just have 8 minutes for the events. I thought that we would finish a lot of things.
Oh, you made the mistake of getting me in as a guest, by the way. So I told.
So Zakir asks, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur, and how did you identify your first business opportunity?
What inspired me to be an entrepreneur is my dad's beating me up with a stick if I didn't turn up to serve the customers. At the age of 12, my father, well, he was at the age of 11. I was 11. He wasn't. He was in his 30s. He set up a business, and long story short, he took the family up from Birmingham to Sunderland, and my job was to take customer orders. And when I was taking orders, this is important. Customers are coming in. This is in the 80s, early 80s. Customers are coming in saying, I want the hottest dish on the menu. So we made a dish up, fowl and tindaloo, whatever. I want the hottest dish with chips. Now, you're a Bengali. How does that sound to you? Doesn't that sound like, the end result of vomit? And so that's how I felt as a 12-year-old. How the heck can you eat that crap? And so here's what I did. I said, okay, well, there's something we've invented 5,000 years ago. It's called rice. You want to try that out? And don't go so hot. Actually eat something that will make your taste bud tingle and not burn as if it's on fire. Go for a Rogan Josh. And have you considered a side dish like a aloo gobi? Because that goes so well with your meat, lamb Rogan Josh, and a naan. So here's what I was doing. Back in those days, they would order something worth about £2, and they walked away with ordering something for £5, £6. I was only 12. I wasn't trying to sell. I was just trying to make them eat a decent meal. When I went into medical sales, I applied not the sales training knowledge, that knowledge when I was selling equipment. As a result, I kept on breaking company records. This is working for a company called Olympus in the medical field, called 𝐒𝐲𝐿𝐼𝐻. And it was only after a number of years I realized that, you know what? I don't like being controlled. I don't like people telling me what to do. I seem to do far better just left to my own devices. That was the first inspiration. Second inspiration is, I wanted to make a big difference to the world, to my family. So what can I do? And the third one was I was going through a divorce. So I wanted to spend more time with my kids. And so I thought, if I'm an entrepreneur, then I can carve out the times for when they're awake, not at school or nursery. And so those were the main inspirations. And now today, nobody will employ me. So that's the fourth inspiration.
I can assume that I went to many interviews before my PhD and after my PhD, but I get 100% rejection. I wasn't selected even or with my university where I have done my PhDs. I think my gap or my thing was I'm too much passionate, and I do not like control other people. Yes, I can work as a team member, understanding their views. But if you wanted to control me, that okay, you have to do this in, and that doesn't make sense, I wouldn't do it because that's why I am. So I wasn't selected anyway. We have another questions to ask. Just we have 5 minutes. We have more questions. We cannot answer all the questions. So sorry for everyone for that, but we're going to be bringing Harun in the next and so on to talk about it. We are also organizing some regular events every month with D, Vernon MBE, and with Harun because he also worked with that team. So we're going to be bringing you some new episodes to talk about empowerment and a lot of other things. One questions that I really wanted to talk about that uh, this question was asked by 𝗘𝐃𝐲𝐻. Many disabled people don't get paid for their services and are asked to work for free. You know, Harun, I get it quite a lot. I get it quite a lot due to my neurodiversity, due to my ethnicity. So when people they think that we are less valuable than our white supremacist people, and that bugged me a lot because they want you to do all the works and excellent work that better than the other people, but at the end they value us very less. How we can solve these problems in the community or in business?
Okay, great question. We've only got a couple of minutes, and we will have to do an entire live stream just on that values. First of all,
Yes.
whether it's disabled, number one, without shadow of a doubt, we have to take personal responsibility, abilities, non-abilities, and say, right, who am I? What do I stand for? What value can I create? What do I mean by value? Value in the eyes of somebody else. Let's, for example, so I've got two, in essence, I've got one business, but spread it out. One is with schools, that's most of my work. But the other side is working with high level experienced teachers, opposite end of the spectrum to my main business. And if you look, for example, a professional speaker might get paid £500 for each time they speak. Well, it's not really high level of speech. Well, for me, it's like, okay, if that person has got high level of value and experience that they can share, then it's very easy for me to find someone who will pay you £5,000, £10,000 to pay you if you are value. So number one thing, my friends, you can do is ask yourself, how do I create value? What am I a genius at? How can I create value? Secondly, you need to network. Use LinkedIn. Make sure you follow Shah and myself. Connect on LinkedIn. Do not ever say, maybe you might have a condition. Do not ever say, oh, this is the reason why. No one gives a toss. Because the skin of my, color of my skin. Yeah. So what? I've got to work twice as hard. That's another reason I became self-employed, by the way. Me as an entrepreneur, someone who's building a very small business, a new startup from scratch. You know what I look at when someone's got neurodiversity? I want to look at, are they operating from this space of, hey, this is my speciality and this is what I can do. This is how I can help you, Harun. Or are they operating from, hey, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. You do it for me. I would 100% any day of the week go for that person and say, right, this is the value I bring. So we have to be a leader. Lead from what you're good at, not a victim. And I'm not saying you guys are playing victim. I'm saying there's no point in talking about rain in England and saying, oh my God, it's so miserable. You're in damn England. Don't talk about it. It's not a conversation. Do you understand? So don't see your disability or neurodivergence as a disability. Use that as a positive platform. Hope that answers that question. And
Yes,
let's take these questions down and answer them.
we are just nearly end of our station, Harun. Thank you very much to everyone. We might go run over 1 or 2 minutes to finish and wind up, close these events. So I specifically thank everyone that they have joined today and asked different questions. We're going to be having more events in the future. So Harun, at the end, I ask all of my speakers to maybe give some key takeaways for them to think about it.
Okay, key takeaway is 3 key takeaways that I tell everybody. Number 1 is learn to do critical thinking. Start thinking for yourself. Stop following left, right, and center, anyone and everybody. Ask yourself this one major question when an opportunity comes. Do I know this opportunity to be true? If it's a negative thing, someone's you're not able to get a job, you can say, do I know this to be true, that I really can't get a job? Critical thinking. Number 2, take personal responsibility for all the actions. You might not be able to impact the outcome, but you can certainly influence the outcome by taking responsibility. So, just take responsibility for your life. Third one, be accountable. So if you do A and you go into that trajectory, just expect consequences. Say, okay, fine, I screwed up, I messed up, I take responsibility. If you get successful, great, I've done it. I'm a Muslim, of course, I'll say Alhamdulillah, so I don't even take that credit. That's all I say. Critical thinking, personal responsibility, and be accountable.
Thank you very much, Harun. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's live. We're going to be having more lives, more interesting topics, working with Harun and all of his connections and contacts. So bring you some good episodes of webinars in the future. But today, Harun, please stay on the line. I'm just going to say bye-bye to the audience, and I will say you bye-bye offline. So everyone, it's been a pleasure talking to Harun today. The time passed very, very quickly. I even did not realize, and I couldn't ask him all the questions. But keep in mind, we're going to be bringing Harun in next and so on. So please support our work. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui from New Derivation Business Consortium, Time Research and Innovation, and Zenzi Marketing. You know that I also run various other webinars and audio events. Please see all of our webinar events in different pages, and as well as on my profile. If you want to support us, please feel free to support us through our social channels and from our website. And if you wanted to contact us directly to Harun and me and all the speakers, they have their dedicated pages on LinkedIn, so you can reach them directly. And thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to Harun today. And I will welcome you next week with another episode of New Divergent Business Consortium's webinar and all other webinars. So until then, stay tuned and be happy. Please spread the word and support our work. Bye-bye. See you next week.